Welcome back. I promised I'd make this video, and I guess it's a more complicated video just because it's a complicated story, I guess. So the best place for me to start, I think, would just be the beginning. So when I was younger, so pre-teen kind of an age, I was extremely sporty, pretty healthy. I had chronic ear infections, and that was kind of the most serious thing that I had at that point. I then had a lot of bullying and difficulties in school with socialising. I found being social difficult and making friends difficult. That's just me. That's my quirk, I guess. I was more of the nerdy one, and I preferred books over friends, and that's just what it was. But I did a lot of activities after school. I had lots of cousins that we all played with. We lived really close to each other, living in a small town, nobody's far away. So yeah, healthy. And then I got to like 13, 14 years old, and I began having pains in my chest. So my mum would take me to the doctors, and they would tell her it's growing pains or it's anxiety. She has a cracked rib, all this without an x-ray or any other kind of investigation. It was just their opinion, and they would give me like little like things to do, like take a deep breath while swinging my hand up in the air, and things like that, none of which helped. Then as I got older, the pains got worse, they got more frequent, and it got to a point where I was like not as active, so I would find myself a little bit more breathless. I would have constant chest infections, I mean constant chest infections, and I was told it's costochondritis, which is like inflammation in the chest wall. Then I got Coxsackie virus, and just constant things going on with my chest, and nothing was ever really looked into. It was always just put down to like a mental health thing. You have chest pains and tightness of chest and struggle to breathe because you have anxiety. That's fine. I know I have anxious tendencies and have anxiety, but obviously we know now that that wasn't the only cause for it. They would press on my chest and it would be sore, and it would just, oh, you've got costochondritis again, or you're still healing from the last chest infection, or try meditation, try steam, inhaling steam, just things like that really. So that was kind of the gist of that. And then as I got to my early 20s, I was in my bed for about 3 months. I was so unwell, and they put it down to a really bad chest infection and nerve damage. They put me on naproxen and gabapentin. Naproxen is an anti-inflammatory steroid which is extremely tough on the stomach, and it ended up giving me like bad stomach issues, which I then had to go on more medication for. The gabapentin, I was on I'm still on that, by the way. I got put back on it, but back then I was on such a strong dose for, at the time, no reason at all, that I was having brain fog and sleeping all the time. And it was just, medications were piling on top of each other. It was tramadol, it was dihydrocodeine, and all these are very strong medications, and there was nothing done other than just chucking me on medication. Yeah, that was kind of the cycle that we were in with my health, and it didn't matter how often I was phoning up in pain, how frequent infections were, nothing was done. Nothing was looked into. It was always just, here's some more antibiotics, here's some more painkillers. But me at the time had been so convinced by doctors and by my family that I'm just lazy and I just need to move more. I just need to breathe. You know, things like this. And it was frustrating, and I was in a cycle of being so frustrated that I couldn't get out of bed because I was so breathless and I was so tired. But I was also getting so, I guess, depressed because nobody was believing me. And now, obviously, knowing everything, I have had my dad and Michael and things apologise. Not that I needed the apology, but they were sorry for always criticising me and calling me lazy and calling me stupid. Yeah, so that was that. Then during that time I tried everything, by the way. I tried Googling things and buying expensive creams to try and make myself, like, rub it on my chest, make myself feel better. I tried doing exercises, but my heart would be racing to the point I was nearly passing out, and occasionally did. I did all I could do at that point. I would go through stages of I push myself to do things and end up ill and back in bed sore, or I would be so depressed I wouldn't do anything at all. I'm just stopped for a chocolate, can't help it. Also, cup of tea. And that was the cycle. Then when I was 27, I got COVID. I was in bed for 2.5 weeks on 2 lots of antibiotics. So unwell, struggling so bad to breathe. It was just terrible. Got something. Oh, yeah, when I was 27, I had a terrible temperature, the worst headache I'd ever had. I was lying in my bed, burning up, really unwell, and all of a sudden it felt like my heart was just going a million miles an hour. It was so bad, and I got so hot and so panicked. I ran to the bathroom and just fell to the floor, and Michael took my heart rate reading. It was 180 something, and he's like, "Kaylee, we'll give you a few minutes and then we need to phone an ambulance." It carried on getting worse. At one point it hit 200, and that's when Michael's like, "No, ambulance." So the ambulance came. They were getting heart readings the same as we were, and it was pretty bad. And they were afraid of it getting to the point where, obviously, cardiac arrest if your heart's struggling, and they needed to find out obviously what. So I went to the hospital. I had an infection. They put me on a couple different antibiotics. I had to keep just taking paracetamol to keep the temperature down. Yeah, that was kind of the first sign that there was issues with my heart struggling, because from then we carried on keep checking it. It was never below 100. My fingernails were turning purple and I was getting red bumps and on my legs, arms, and just I was struggling, I guess. It happened again because I'd had COVID so bad and my heart was thumping again. I was unwell. Ambulance came and they said my heart's not doing good. Go to hospital, we'll get you checked out. So they done an x-ray and took some bloods to make sure I didn't have a clot in my lung, because the symptoms I was having were of a clot, and nothing came back there with the clot. And the x-ray that they found, so this was the first x-ray I'd had, they found inflation in my lungs, and they put it down to being musculoskeletal issues and being around smoke. And that was it. Away home I went with some more antibiotics. A couple of weeks after that, I woke up. I was in the worst pain. At the time I thought it was just really bad indigestion. So I swigged my stuff for indigestion. It was so bad that Michael had never seen me struggling so much to breathe, and he just phoned an ambulance. Came and he kind of knew something was wrong at the time. I didn't. I stayed pretty chill, but I think the point they knew is when the gas and air wasn't working. She kept on saying, "Take a deep breath," and I was taking a deep breath. She was watching me and it wasn't working. But if you want the whole story of that, if you go to my lung collapsed again video, it's on there. Collapsed in hospital. At that point I diagnosed with emphysema, because the CT scan they took at that point was only of one lung partially inflated. LAM looks very similar to emphysema. So that's what I was diagnosed with. That's what we went for a whole year. And when things were just carrying on getting worse, that's when we're like, no, we need to go back to the consultant. Anyway, got diagnosed with LAM. So that's kind of the gist of that kind of backstory. I will answer the questions that kind of relate to that at the end kind of thing. I think we'll just kind of get into when I got diagnosed with LAM and what LAM is. When I was diagnosed, my consultant, Katie, sent me out loads and loads of paperwork relating to what LAM is. Just so you can kind of get an idea of what it is, because when you look online, there's so many bad things that, you know, kind of old data and negative things, and sometimes it is. In my case, it's not great. It's not always as doom and gloom as it seems. So you get pointed in the way of kind of two information places and charities, and that's LAM Action, which is the UK based one, and the LAM Foundation, which is kind of American based. When you're in the UK and you're diagnosed with LAM, you're encouraged to join LAM Action, and they send you this little booklet thing. It gives you a rough idea of what LAM is. I don't know if any of you have gone on to have a look at it yourselves. So okay, so LAM is a very rare disease. The majority of people with LAM are women, and it's lung cysts, which are abnormalities in the lymphatic system, which may result in collection of fluid in the chest and abdomen, and non-malignant kidney tumours, which can enlarge and bleed. So I have kidney cysts. When I was 16, I was in hospital with pains in my back and in my stomach, and I was just being unwell, and I was taken to hospital. They thought at first it was my appendix. In the morning they done a scan and just found a tumour on my kidney, but they thought at the time it was just like a fatty lump and it wasn't anything to worry about. LAM has only really been researched and more information come of it in the past 30 or so years. There's a professor down in Nottingham, and he is educating people on it. He's like kind of LAM specialist. He's the one like my consultant goes to for advice and things, obviously, because I'm a long way from England. It's not ideal for me to go back and forth there, so my consultant's like a third party that we all go in between. So they put here, LAM is associated with the buildup of abnormal cells known as LAM cells, particularly in the lungs, but also in the lymphatic system and kidneys. LAM cells are more likely to grow and multiply compared to normal cells, causing damage where they congregate. This leads to the development of cysts in the lungs, and these cysts have a characteristic appearance on a CT lung scan. LAM cells may also impair the flow of lymph in the lymphatic system and can cause benign tumours in the kidneys, which, you know. I'll talk about the symptoms of LAM, and I'll talk about the symptoms I had of LAM, but the complications of LAM are obviously a fair majority of us who have LAM end up with collapsed lungs, and that's just how it is. The other complication is that our tumours on our kidney grow and bleed. About half of women with LAM will have kidney tumours. A lot of the time they're small and not detected unless they're looking for it. I do have obviously CTs on my kidneys, but I can't remember. I probably actually got a picture of them somewhere, but I can't distinguish them that well. It's black and white lumpy bumpies to me. Another complication which I have not had is pleural effusion, but it's where the LAM cells can block lymph flows in the lung, causing milky fluid to gather around the lung, known as pleural effusion, leading to breathlessness. Occasionally some lymph is coughed up as sticky whitish phlegm. Again, I've not had it, so I can't comment on what that feels like, but I imagine it's nice. This is like another complication which I'm concerned I have, and I'm going to bring up with my consultant when I'm next in the middle of June. Obviously in my last video I talked about the bloating issues that I've been having, and I've always had bloating, but it's been getting worse, and when I press on certain parts it's extremely painful. So it's something I would like them to check at least, because I have done my own research and this is obviously one of the other complications, and it's called abdominal LAM, and it says 2/3 of women with LAM will have enlarged abdominal lymphatics. This usually causes no symptoms, but around 10% have abdominal symptoms such as bloating. Again, I don't know what the bad parts of that would be other than bloating, but the fact that it's kind of painful and uncomfortable is why I would like them to check it, because the tablets that the doctor gave me for the bloating, they don't make me feel very good. I get really grumbly bad pains in my stomach and it's just uncomfortable, so I've stopped taking them and I'm dealing with just being bloated and having tight jeans. It says who develops LAM and why is the next section. I'm sorry, I'm just reading all this kind of off of here. It's a lot of information for my brain to have to remember. I wish I could just sit here and memorize it all for you, but a lot of medications, they affect my brain, so you know that LAM is extremely rare. Sporadic LAM affects around 10 in every million women. Sporadic LAM is not inherited and it is not passed on to children. However, okay, so that's the one my kind of team are going with. We'll see after the brain MRI scan. Again, I have spoke about this, that you have the sporadic LAM, and that's where in your fetal stage your cells are kind of coming together, and that's when it happens. It's just a accidental thing. And then you also have the tuberous sclerosis side of it, where it is inherited through your genes. The cause of sporadic LAM is still unknown, but the condition almost exclusively affects women. It is thought they may relate to the female hormone estrogen. LAM cells respond to estrogen by growing more quickly and spreading around the body. Therefore, increased estrogen levels, whether arising because of pregnancy or estrogen-containing medicine, may cause LAM to progress more rapidly. After the menopause, the progression of LAM is usually more gradual. So there's two things to that which relate to me, and that is when you're told you have LAM, the treatment is sirolimus, which is very toxic, very strong medication. It's a chemotherapy medication, and it's thought to kind of block those cell things, and so being on that is very toxic if you were to become pregnant. That medication is very toxic to a fetus, so you are, if you're still of childbearing age, you have to go on some sort of contraception. And obviously with LAM, they know that the estrogen affects you, so you have to go on a non-estrogen contraception. So when you're talking to your doctor to try and pick the right one for you, you're a bit more limited than what everyone else would be. I chose to have the rod just because it's the easiest thing. You don't have to think about it, it's in there. And that's that. I haven't had really any side effects to it. It's been pretty simple for me. I know for women who, based on my reading anyway, who have got menopause, kind of hormone replacement therapy isn't kind of advised due to the fact that you're just giving your body more of that estrogen, which is going to increase the growth of your of the cells that affect your lungs. The first symptoms of LAM usually appear in women between the ages of 20 and 50. So I was mid-teens when I first noticed things going wrong, but things didn't really go wrong, obviously with the collapses and things, until my later 20s. How is LAM diagnosed? Through chest x-rays, lung function tests, and CT scans. Yeah, the x-rays I wouldn't say are accurate at all, really. I had many x-rays that first year where I was told I had emphysema, and nothing was picked up other than scarring and some fluid at the bottom of my lungs left over from surgery. There wasn't really any, oh, this is a cystic lung disease on my chest x-rays. The lung function tests, I didn't have any until it was thought I had a cystic lung disease, just because after lung surgery you have to wait until you're healthy enough to take a lung function test, because obviously your lungs aren't going to be in perfect working order after surgeries. And obviously when mine came back, they were pretty poor. So there's that. And it says a raised blood level of LAM related protein called VEGF-D, also used as a diagnostic pointer for LAM. That's a new one to me. I know they took a lot of blood from me. They speak a lot of words back and it doesn't all go in, so they might have had that too. I don't know. If there's any doubt, however, a lung biopsy may be required, and that wasn't the case for me. I know that there is a bit of my lung floating about somewhere when they had to remove a section of my left lung that was so damaged. I know they done some testing on that. Don't know what kind of testing though, sorry. I didn't really ask. I just, when I'm there, I'm just like, yeah, okay. What it says here, what happens as time passes? Obviously LAM is a progressive disease, so it isn't gonna get better. And there's an absence of a cure. There's no treatment that's like, okay, this stops it or this fixes the problem. That just isn't a thing. The progression is usually slow, with a gradual decline in lung function and increase in breathlessness over time. For me, I don't know whether it was I just have it very aggressive or it was a lifestyle thing, or I have no idea why mine is so far advanced for my age, when there is women 20-30 years older than me who have a couple of cysts on their lungs and have a relatively normal life, and the sirolimus is helping to the point theirs is very gradual. I have no idea. It's maybe something to ask my consultant, but to me it doesn't really matter. It is what it is. Some people like me are gonna have it worse than others, same as any illness, you know. So how do women with LAM get monitored? It says that we get regular lung function tests, so I get mine once a month currently. Yeah, it's a simple enough thing. As uncomfortable as it is, it's a necessity to keep an eye on things. Kidney scans are also monitored to keep an eye on how fast and how big your cysts and your kidneys are getting. Obviously they monitor for infections and risks of pneumothoraxes as well, which all seems to ring true with my kind of treatments. I have a obviously monthly clinic which I see a consultant, and I actually got my letter through for my appointment and it's a different consultant again, so this will be the third one. But meeting new people for me is always difficult, so that's fun. But I'm sure she'll be lovely and just as helpful as the other two consultants I've seen. So what treatments is there? So the first one we know I've spoke about is the sirolimus. Yeah, you have to have special monitoring when you're on that drug, just because there are so many risks. So far I've been really good. I haven't had many side effects, none that have been really bothersome anyway. And all my blood tests keep coming back fine. Inhalers, so we get an inhaler. Go and get it actually, because I can't remember what it's called. Oh my goodness. This little inhaler lasts a month. And I can't open it because I've still got one left and I wish it was empty. If we deleted one more day. It's called Relvar Ellipta. It's all in, I think, Russian just now. For some reason that's what my chemist had in stock. But it's a steroid inhaler and it's a powder. So this is what it looks like. Ignore the foreign language here. So you just will pull this bit open. I'm not going to open it all the way because it makes a click and that means it's ready. But you open it all the way and you breathe all the air out your lungs. And then you take a really deep breath in from here. And this powder enters your lungs, and it just means that it helps relax those airways and makes it easier to breathe and things. I started these in, I think November. November of 2022. I had noticed, like, after the first week of taking this, I had stopped coughing up blood. And me coughing up blood had been a daily thing for months and months. And a week after using this, that coughing up blood only now happens when I have a chest infection. So there's definite positive outcome with this. You do have to rinse your mouth out with water very well after you do it, because the powder sticks a little bit to the roof of your mouth and it can cause sores and things. The other treatment, obviously, which is the path I'm on, which isn't a common one for women with LAM. Sorry, I have my cup of tea, and we'll just take a little pause to show you my mug. This is my LAM mug. I designed this all myself. So it's peace, love, cure, and we have the white ribbon for lungs, and the zebra print ribbon is for rare diseases, which obviously rare lung disease. Yeah, I designed the print and I made, like, all my family the LAM t-shirts. I got a jumper, my mug. Yeah, it was just something we could all be part of. We all got a nude t-shirt and I got a mug. So yeah, the last treatment, which is obviously the worst case scenario for any condition, is obviously transplant. Lung transplantation may be an option for some women with very advanced LAM, where no other treatment options are possible. Some women with LAM in the UK and others around the world have had successful lung transplants. However, the benefits seen from the use of sirolimus has reduced considerably the number of patients requiring a lung transplant. So that's the other frustrating thing, I guess, is that if I don't dwell on it much, because, like, what good does it do? But if it had been caught sooner and I'd have been put on the sirolimus, would I be in this current situation, or would it bought me plenty more time? It's just one of those things that sometimes when you're in one of those down moods, that crosses your mind, but it's like it's a rabbit hole and you don't want to get stuck down there, really. So I try not to dwell on that. The last bit is obviously tips for living with LAM. Oh, I didn't even mention either supplemental oxygen. And that is when your oxygen levels fall. Yeah, you just need that little bit more help with oxygen. I guess the other side of it is the keeping as healthy as we can. So that's keeping active. We stop using all chemicals and we use eco solutions for cleaning the house. We like the Method one and Spruce. They're not much more expensive than your normal stuff. So people with lung diseases are more prone to respiratory infections, keeping an eye on things like that. Going to pulmonary rehab, which I do. I see a pulmonary physiotherapist and I'm getting on fine with that. I'm doing really good, and obviously I keep active with my exercises. And bone health, which I've already talked about as well, with the bone density scan, taking vitamin D, trying to keep weight on to help my bones. That's kind of the gist with the LAM thing. I guess the next part of the video is going to be getting to know me a little bit more. As interesting as I am, we can do some questions and I'll go and get Michael for this. In case you're wondering, I'm 5'5" and Michael's 6'6".
There's a difference.
A bit, yeah. There's quite a few people who have said that you are a very good guy and that you're great.
Well, you know what? Those people are great judges of character.
Great judges of character.
Great judges of character, yes.
Well said, Mike. I think at the start of this video I answered the first question, and that was, how did this start? It started before I met Michael anyway. But it got worse. The next question was, what are my symptoms? I kind of also answered that in the beginning, right at the start. I would say lots of chest pain, lots of chest infections, difficulty to breathe.
A combination of unknown things.
Those were like the first ones, yeah. Obviously, I didn't know there was huge things wrong till my lungs collapsed. How could this not have been diagnosed? I kind of also answered that to a terrible doctor, really. I would kind of say the majority of it is caused by, I guess, non-awareness to it.
Oh wait, can I say a
point? And putting the symptoms down to just silly things, but anyway, yeah.
Here's my thought. Mental health. It seems to be the case. Maybe it's just with our GPs, but as soon as you are diagnosed with any form of mental health issue, any reason you go there, they will automatically assume it's mental health.
Definitely.
That was always the first protocol.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be like that.
I said during school that I was bullied and things and had a difficult time with people. And that was like, they said it was like anxious avoidant personality disorder and things. But like, why can you not just be allowed to not get on with people? Why is it that it's a disorder? How can they fix it? Chemo, lung transplant, question mark. Again, kind of covered it. There's no fix for it, but I am on treatments, and the lung transplant assessment is upcoming. At some point we'll hear back anytime now, really. That all got sent away on the 9th of March, and it takes roughly 3 months to hear back, so anytime really in June we should, fingers crossed, hear back and go for the assessment. There's not really a great outcome for that, because you want the transplant because you want to have longer and you want it to go well, but you also don't want it because you don't want to be in this situation. Question here, how old am I?
Ooh, you should guess. Write in the comments.
I am 29. I just had my birthday and 29.
Which is really weird because she's actually a bit of a cradle snatcher. I'm only 21.
He wishes. He's 30 in August.
Supposed.
How long have I been with Michael? I have been with Michael. You want to answer it?
11 years.
11 years, so I was 17 when I met Michael. A long time.
What's our anniversary?
The 26th of February. Do we plan to get married?
Yes is the answer. We're betrothed.
We are engaged, actually, but we were actually planning to get married in November. We had pretty much a lot of things already done.
Including invites.
We had invites, we were speaking to, what do you call them?
Registrars.
Registrars, whatever they were called. It was like we had a book telling us what to do because we had no idea.
Turns out it's very complicated, actually.
We had where we were getting married done, and yeah, but then although this came out, and kind of our focus is just on my health, and I'm pretty sure nobody would like to get married attached to this.
I'll wear one too.
Just scooting this along, you know, it's not really ideal. So we'll see.
There's kind of a lot going on at the minute, isn't it? I think everyone's just been kind of like pushed to the back burner.
Yeah, you kind of want to enjoy it, I guess. And with there being issues with my family, it would be very empty on my side of the aisle. Put it that way. I'm eating a throat sweetie, by the way, because I've got a sore throat. How long have I had LAM symptoms? Kind of fitted that in at the beginning. Probably since I was maybe 15, 16. What are your hobbies? What are your hobbies?
God, what are my hobbies? I used to be a really professional gamer, and now I suck at it, so I don't play games anymore. Also, we kind of just fell out of gaming, didn't we? We just kind of stopped.
I still like playing Sims sometimes.
You answer a question. Your hobbies are easier.
Ooh, I have lots of hobbies, I guess, but like none of them are like hardcore hobbies. They're just like things I do to pass time usually. So painting, I don't know, online shopping, like adding stuff to a basket, then looking at the total and be like, nah.
I'm not gonna buy that.
I really enjoy going out and visiting like historical places and graveyards and weird stuff. I love anything to do with history, so watching documentaries. We also play guitar. I used to play piano.
Trumpet.
Trumpet. No, it's quite musical actually. I don't know how. I can't read music.
Watching her try to learn a song on piano has to be one of the funniest things I've experienced. I get so angry.
It's because like my head says I can do it, but then my hands are just like, I'll mess up one note and just
and swear loudly and then play
yeah.
the same piece and then mess up again.
Yep, that's me. That's me learning everything really.
Yeah.
That's my hobbies.
What would you say my hobbies are?
You're doing your coding, like computer tech
Well, that's
stuff.
not a hobby. That will be a career choice.
Yeah, but computers and stuff is like a hobby. We're quite boring people.
I lift weights, brah.
Let me just say this. I had a bath tonight, hence my state. And I've just had my surgery on my feet. And I didn't want to get my bandages wet. So I asked Michael to help me in the bath and just like bum first so that I wouldn't get my feet in. All he's like is, this is why I have such an issue editing.
I really want to touch it.
Anyway, he's like, oh my god, my back. It's just clicked everywhere. I need to borrow some of your painkillers.
In my defense, and first of all, that's paracetamol.
Yeah.
But in my defense, I has lost weight,
He's
and
lost
I haven't
2
really
stone.
been lifting weight.
Mm-hmm.
The sun was in my eyes.
What we have concluded is we're bored people and don't really have many hobbies.
I don't have a hobby. I just can't think of one right now. Movies. Movies is a
Oh,
hobby,
we
right?
like movies.
Yeah, being a movie buff is like a hobby, right?
Yeah, we're currently watching the Harry Potters again. We're going to the Harry Potter store.
Oh yeah.
And I could have easily spent an absolute fortune. I don't know if you know, you can do the Harry Potter house quiz thing and see which house you are. What house are you?
I was a special one. I can either be a Gryffindor or a Slytherin, but I associate most with Slytherins.
Definitely a Slytherin.
I reckon Malfoy would do a bit of makeup.
I don't know. You can guess before I tell you. Write in the comment bit what you think I was.
Slytherin.
You're wrong. I am Ravenclaw. I have Ravenclaw many things, mostly mugs.
Were Ravenclaw even in the movies, really? Like, what did they do?
But I'm a Ravenclaw, and we don't need to be in Harry Potter because we're smart and witty and we stay well out of the drama. The Harry Potter
They
store
did nothing.
could have easily spent an absolute fortune. So we really wanted to try the butterbeer. So I think Amazon does a butterbeer, so we'll maybe try it from there. The next question was, how are you so strong at dealing with such a serious disease?
Frick knows how she's so strong. It's actually scary.
I think
Genuinely
it's like compartmentalizing it. I'm just
No, it's not.
just taking it as it is. Like, yeah, it's bad. It's not good. Nobody wants to be told at 28, if you don't have your lung transplant, you're gonna die in like 2 years. It's yeah, it's scary, but that's past. I can't change it. All I can do is concentrate on each step now. So it was, okay, this scan, okay, this blood test, okay, this medication, this assessment, blah blah blah. So just taking it each bit as it comes. I think I have been upset maybe twice.
No, you've barely been upset or had any breakdowns. I've known everyone else to have breakdowns, apart from you. It's
because I think it's just, you have to just get on with it. I'm just trying to enjoy things. And for me, the only time I ever get emotional in my head is when I think about like me not being there for the pets and being stuck with just him. Like,
what's wrong with that?
for me, everything is logical. I have to think in terms of logic, and
You're literally a Vulcan.
I do have really like points to my ears.
Hashtag the Star Trek fans.
I would love to be a Vulcan, but then I could be evil like a Romulan. Anyway, so for me, logic. and that was, okay, I need to order a will and get that sorted so that everything gets left to the right person who I want it. Not like I have much, but I want everyone to know the pets go to Michael. So that's how I deal with it. But everyone's different, and I'm sure at some point maybe it will hit and I'll be like, oh my goodness, what's happening?
I thought that about you like months ago. I assumed you would have had like a proper realization, but you never.
Who knows?
Did.
Last question we have is, can you explain the 4 litres, 2 litres oxygen thing? And okay, easy enough. So I was the video when we were out walking and turning it. So I'm prescribed 4 litres of oxygen. So at home I have my oxygen concentrator, which is set at 4 litres. It's a constant flow 4 litres when I'm at home. But when I have my small tanks and I'm outside, my portable tanks, I can set, so it's 4 litres, but it only puffs that when I breathe in.
Yeah.
So sometimes that is difficult and I'm not activating enough to give me enough oxygen to not feel breathless. So I can turn it all the way around and it'll be a steady, constant flow at number 2. That's as high as it'll go for the constant flow on the small portable cylinders. And that's just like a rescue. So if I'm not getting enough and I'm feeling breathless, I can stop, turn it to 2 and just get that constant oxygen going in and then go again, and just making sure I'm trying to activate it enough, because at home obviously it's easier. I've got my constant 4 litres, but sometimes I have worse days than others for breathlessness and I'll struggle a bit more. Like yesterday, I'm more breathless and can't do as much, so going and exercising isn't a good idea because I'm just too breathless, even just sat around.
Yeah.
It's kind of knowing your limits. But that's a rough explanation. I can do a video showing how the oxygen machine and my cylinders and all that kind of stuff works, because I have a new little
apparatus?
handy thing.
Oxygen thing?
For my oxygen, which is really good. So I can do a video showing how all of that works. So that's the questions. That's kind of a rough thing on the LAM that I just read through. I'm sure you'll learn more as we go along, and so will I. But that is the end of this video because I have rambled on for way too long. Hopefully it's been a little bit more helpful and I've answered the questions well enough, and you've got to know a little bit more about LAM and you've got to know a little bit more about me.
Next time you do a Q&A, I expect more questions about me.
Yes, ask Michael more questions because he likes to be involved. Thank you for watching. Bye.